Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News. Today is the 6th June of 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be your host for the evening. Today we actually got 3 stories for you guys. First, we're going to take a look at Diablo 4. Secondly and thirdly, we're going to look at Fortnite. First, as children are being scammed by scammers in Fortnite, and last of all, Fortnite is one of the most popular words in the youth population of Great Britain. But let's begin with Diablo 4, as that is the topic you guys are most likely most interested in. And we now have sort of a confirmation that Blizzard is working on the 4th installment in the Diablo series. We have this confirmation because of the job listing, as we do often have confirmations for new projects. So it seems that Blizzard is seeking a dungeon artist who with achievements in level design, modeling, texturing, and other aspects of world building that suggest a ground-up development model, and not just simply a remaster of a current game. On top of that, it's interesting that they also are looking for a dungeon artist who works well in an environment of peers who are passionate about working on the dark, gothic world of Diablo, making great games, killing millions of monsters, and getting loot. So, this is all we really know. We just know that Diablo 4 is in the works at Blizzard, and if you are a fan of Blizzard, this probably won't come as a big surprise to you. Blizzard is well known for working on their projects for a long time until they are actually happy with them. And that sort of brings me to my next conclusion. This isn't coming out anytime soon. Like, this is literally going to take years before we actually see Diablo 4. Blizzard is one of the few studios that I can appreciate when it comes to their, I guess I could call it, technical precision. Their betas are often in a better technical state than many full releases from other big publishing houses like EA or Nintendo or anyone else. No, Nintendo is probably the second best right after Blizzard. But seriously, you guys remember the Overwatch beta? It worked so flawlessly compared to many full releases that I was simply amazed by the fact of how much work does Blizzard actually put into testing their games, into trying out as many things to figure out all the possible bugs. Honestly, I think Hearthstone is the most bugged game when it comes to Blizzard, and that's a real feat when it comes to the complexity of their games. Yes, you could argue that World of Warcraft has more bugs, but compare it to the complexity of Hearthstone, and the percentage of bugs is so much lower in WoW than it is in Hearthstone. And even if we take the infamous Server 42 issue when it comes to Diablo 3, that was still just a drop in the sea when you compare it to other major releases. And it was their first real project on such a scale since World of Warcraft. So I'm generally impressed by the quality of Blizzard games. And as I said, it will probably take at least a few years before we actually see Diablo 4 come to the market. And in the meantime, you can still have plenty of fun in Diablo 3 and its expansions, its DLC packs, and its new seasons. They're still adding content to that. And as far as I know, it is pretty fun content. And I'm not a big Diablo fan. It's just not really my genre to enjoy for a prolonged period of time. But if you are, and you are looking for something new, and you're not already playing Path of Exile, then now you know you have something to look forward to. Okay, let's move on to the two pieces of Fortnite news that we have today. So first is sort of a public announcement, as there is a new scam circulating that is concerning Fortnite. As far as we know currently, this is mainly concerning the Great Britain, well, just Great Britain, as it seems that the scammers have now decided to target children, which obviously is a bad thing. It's a thing that needs to be punished, it's a thing that needs to be avoided, and things that children actually need to learn about. Because teaching your children how to avoid being scammed is the only real way to protect them from being scammed. So what is actually happening is that these scammers, at least according to a report published by the Daily Telegraph, there are new advertisements that are being posted on social media, you know, like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where Fortnite fans tend to accumulate, that offer free V-Bucks. And we already talked about the fact that any offer of free V-Bucks, which, by the way, if you don't know, is the in-game currency of Fortnite, is most likely a scam, and that you should not fall for it. Don't be idiots. If you want your V-Bucks, you need to buy them. There really, as far as I know, isn't a way to just get them for free through some random method. So, they offer you free V-Bucks, and especially young children will often fall for these sort of things. And they ask the children to hand in their Epic Games account details and later on their credit card information, or more likely their parents' credit card information. And then suddenly, you know, like a month later, the credit card bill comes into the household, and suddenly there's like a few hundred to a few $1,000 of purchases that nobody really made. And everybody's like, how the fuck did this get on our credit card? And it seems that very often it is the case that it was their children being scammed over Fortnite. So if you have a child who is playing Fortnite, or yourself you are a player of Fortnite, be very wary of scammers and phishers altogether. The general knowledge is never give out your personal information on pages you aren't 100% that they are sure. Be very careful with your personal information. It is a very valuable thing today on the internet. And there are people who will be selling it. And suddenly some Chinese overlord has your personal information and is sending you scams that you might fall for because, well, they seem legitimate if they have your information. And also teach this to your children. Teach them that scammers are a thing. Teach them how to recognize scammers. Teach them to always check the address if they see something weird going on with the address. If it isn't the official address, never to fill out any information. Tell them to never tell their personal information to strangers, because that's also a thing that's happening pretty often. A pretty common thing is they send their pictures to complete strangers they met on the internet. Warn them about this. It's really important, and because everything that gets posted on the internet is there forever, this could just ruin their lives when they're like 7, 8. And obviously, since our children need to be protected, that's one of the basic tenets of humanity. We need to protect them by teaching them responsible behavior. So be sure to do that. And our last piece of news for today is again concerning Fortnite, though in a better way, I guess. So last week, there was sort of a contest happening on the BBC Radio 2 breakfast show, which is called the BBC Radio 2 Breakfast Show's 500 Words Contest, wherein children from ages 5 to 13 were supposed to write a short story of, well, about 500 words. But Fortnite, as you might think because of I'm talking about it, was not the most common word. The most common word was actually plastic, which appeared 3,359 times in 134,790 stories, which was actually a pretty significant amount. But Fortnite was among the 4 top words, with unicorns, slimes, and Fortnite. So it seems that Fortnite is really a cultural phenomenon, a much larger one than we could ever thought it would have been. And I do understand why. It is a fun game to play, and I understand why kids like to play it. The cartoony graphics work as well. The fact that you can chat with your friends and you can play in a small group. We people are really meant for small group cooperation, and I think something like 4 people is actually a perfect group. And if you don't have 3 friends, you can just play with one of your friends in a group of 2, and that's fun as well. Fortnite wasn't the only quote-unquote gaming word that appeared pretty often in these stories, though. The word game itself actually also appeared 30,000 times, which is pretty impressive to say the least. And words as console and noob also appeared pretty often, which suggests that a pretty decent amount of children are gamers, so we can just expect the gamer communities to grow over time as these children get older, and that makes me really happy. But also somewhat concerned because of the issues of the gaming industry, like, loot boxes and scams that are targeting children, as we talked about them just a few short minutes ago. And we need to figure out ways how to protect our children, because just saying, oh, this game is meant only for 15 years old and above just isn't going to cut it. Let's be blunt about that. We need to figure out a way to protect children without infringing on the rights of the adults. And I know that is a hard thing to propose. And the only real solution I can see will be mandatory ID checks. And really, that is the only solution I can see. And I hope that one day there will be a better solution. But for the moment, I just don't see a better one. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribing to the channel. If you're watching on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow the blog. Either way, be sure to leave a comment. Maybe tell us your own favorite word that you would include in a story, especially if it is gaming related. And also be sure to tune in tomorrow for more gaming news, as we are a source of daily gaming news every single day. See you guys later with more gaming content.